Well, we have the cars going around behind the pace car, but dramas here at Sandown because Mark Scaife, who won the Peter Jackson Dash and the entire show at Amaroo Park, his engine has failed to fire and the car is now being pushed up the pit lane. He missed out on 3 points yesterday. This could be a very valuable setback to Mark Scaife. Here's the field now, nice and tight behind the pace car. John Bowe in the front row by himself with Dick Johnson on the outside of Thomas Mazera in the second row. It is going to be a slow start, and I think the pace car will pull off to the left, off to the right rather, which he does. And John Bowe gets a screamer off the start, but look at Brock down the inside. And Dick Johnson is 3 wide. There's only room there for 2 as they make it into the first left-hander. It is going to be fairly tight here. John Bowe is off and running like the wind.
Here's it wide. Peter Brock trying to squeeze up the inside of Thomas Mazera there off the line. Did a great job when they hit the button, but he's getting pushed back behind Mazera now. And Dick Johnson getting very, very sideways on his race rubber. That won't be a good move. Jim Richards sneaks up the inside meanwhile and gives Johnson a slow run onto the straight the first time.
Well, every point counts in a championship, Mark, and these fellas are going for 3-2-1 in that order. With Mark Scaife out of the equation this morning, unfortunately, a stalled engine on the line before the dash.
We take the Dunlop race cam as we run up to the back of the straight here, and here's the view from the back of the field. It's a little more pleasant if you're John Bowe at the front of the field. So the 2 Shell FAI cars are running first and last, and I think Johnson would like to correct that. He sits in behind Jimmy Richards, can't do much about it, but Bowe has got an incredible record here at Sandown. In fact, won the dash back here in 1992. And if my memory serves me correctly, almost cleaned house there that particular day as well.
Peter Brock will be most happy this morning, getting up into 3rd spot here and getting 2nd row for the start.
1 lap to go. John Bowe leads into the left-hander. There's Scaife's car back behind the 7 Sport sign, and there's Scaife walking up the pit lane.
It's a very impressive turn of speed from the Shell Fords. Johnson with a brand new car for 1994. John Bowe driving last year's version, considerably updated for 94. And boy, haven't they got some speed on here at Sandown.
See them all picking up the inside rears as they head through that turn. Now, Johnson's a little closer if he sits in the draft here. I'm not quite sure if anyone wants to
pull over.
No one's going to pull over, but if he gets a slingshot at them here. But Bowe has decimated this field. He got off the start beautifully, and Johnson got himself caught way too wide on the outside and had them all up the inside of him.
Keep in mind, these 5 guys are using their race rubber at the moment. This is the tyres that are going to have to carry them through 2 heats here at Sandown later in the day. So they're trying desperately not to lock up their brakes or burn them up before the event finishes.
Well, the points have been so evenly split this weekend. It was different last weekend where we had Mark Scaife, as I said earlier, 3 points for the championship through fast time. He dominated the Peter Jackson Dash on the Sunday morning. But Bowe's going to get up and get 3 big ones here today because he comes down the start-finishing line now. The checkered flag is out, and John Bowe in the Falcon wins the dash this morning. 2nd spot will go to Thomas Mazera, 3rd to Peter Brock, 4th to Jim Richards, and 5th spot goes to Dick Johnson. I think a fairly happy John Bowe. Let's go down to AJ.
Thanks, Mike, and the Mark Scaife with a flat rear tyre certainly made it that little bit easier from the start, John Bowe.
Well, yeah, obviously I had a bit of a break there, which is great. I mean, it's always nice to win something. So I feel sorry for Mark, but I mean, he's got the runs on the board so far. I still think that he's the guy to beat.
And why wouldn't you sing? It is a very, very dangerous sport. You know, they've made it a lot safer for spectators, not only in the United States, but also here in Australia with debris fencing and so forth. But for the drivers, and Australian touring car drivers in particular, maybe 94 might mean a new innovation for safety. Regardless of the formula, track shape and size, or even surface material, motor racing remains a high-risk business for those who travel down its fast lane. Admittedly, racing is safer than, say, a decade ago, but occasionally the sport receives a reminder call. 2 were heard from Daytona last month when Neil Bonnet and Rodney Orr were killed after encounters with the concrete wall. Australian touring car racing has enjoyed an enviable safety record over 3 decades. But Dick Johnson is one who believes American-style window nets should be made mandatory to ensure a driver stays within the confines of the cockpit during an accident.
Basically Bathurst, where I felt a little vulnerable after seeing some of the footage from the accident I had there, and certainly some of the other accidents that I've seen, like at Wellington with Tony Longhurst and and certainly Andrew Madecki at Malala once, I thought, well, you don't get too many chances at this deal. If you have another one, it could hurt you. So I thought, you know, I'm big into self-preservation these days, so I put a net on.
Have you taken any stick as a result of putting the net on?
Not one comment at all from anyone, which is quite good. I don't mind. I'll probably be walking around with 2 arms and 2 legs while they're not.
Johnson is not the only driver to escape a close concrete shave. 2 years ago, Tony Longhurst crashed heavily during the Wellington street race, riding off not only the yellow bimmer, but also his hard hat.
Broke the front full face section, so if I hadn't had it, it would have taken my chin off, and it did a lot of damage to my body, but I didn't feel it till about 2 or 3 weeks later. I was really quite crook for months or so.
So you looked at the Johnson net, and that sounds like a good idea?
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. I think it should be compulsory.
The CAM Safety Committee has endorsed window nets on an optional basis for 94. And while a number of drivers share Johnson's enthusiasm for the product, winning over the masses might just take a little longer.
I suppose it's probably just an obstruction next to you when you're driving, and be able to see the revision mirror on the side of the door probably more than anything. But I suppose in a safety point of view it is safe, and maybe if these cars are getting too fast and we do have some big crashes, naturally maybe to keep heads in the doors we've got to have things like that on.
I think it's a great idea. We've been talking about it for 2 years, and you know, we've finally got one in Dick's car, and I'll have one in mine as soon as they can make one up, because if you ever have a bad accident or something, it stops your limbs flying out the window, so it's got to be a good thing.
Yep, I haven't got a for or against, but I suppose if the car rolled over 10 or 12 times, it would stop your arms from flying out the window.
Today, the Shell Tourers attack one of the fastest strips on the national tour. Fortunately, there's plenty of runoff area, but for the concrete-encased Bathurst and street tracks, a mobile net might just save a close call. The start, round number 2, race number 1 of the championship by Shell. John Bowe in pole position by virtue of winning the Peter Jackson Dash, and alongside of him is Thomas Mazzera, who gets off the line, lights up the tyres. Mark Scaife splits a pair of them, tries to work Jimmy Richards over before they make it to the first left-hander. And the 2 mobile cars also come out with a gigantic brake lock-up.
Dear, oh dear.
The 2 Winfield Commodore cars are taken wide out of the circuit, whether that's Scaife or Richards, but he comes straight back in and almost gets the side of Glenn Seaton as they make their way through that turn.
I think that may have been Scaife doing a bit of grass cutting out there, but fortunately he hasn't damaged the front spoiler. We'll see which car that is as they come onto the back straight for the first time. But Thomas Mazzera, we saw him do a huge light up of the rear tyres. And look at the first of Shell cars, John Bowe. He's got a rear tyre rubbing there, and that may cut through if he gets into trouble. Look at him as they come up the back straight for the first time.
Ridiculous.
Thomas Mazzera and the Holden Racing Team Commodore leads them across Dandenong Road, 250 kilometres an hour as they swing down the hill for the first time. John Bowe in third, and the first of the Peter Jackson Falcons in fourth.
That's Alan Jones, who's made off to a brilliant start. Next is Peter Brock going through smartly. Mark Scaife, I think it was, who had the off. So that really has affected. That could have been Johnson who was out wide there. Up on the inside, a little brake lock up there from Alan Jones, sitting right in behind John Bowe. He's not going to see out the entire distance of this race with the problem he's got with a tyre scuffing the side. They come in to rip off the first of 20 laps. Tony Longhurst getting away smartly. The crowd right onto this one. Mazzera, the leader. Mark Scaife in second. Third is John Bowe. Then it's Alan Jones up on the inside as well. So it was Jimmy Richards, in fact, who suffered badly out of that shuffle.
Look at the front of JB's car. He gets it very sideways as he gets on the power coming up through the switchback here. The front of the car's been damaged. Gee, he's really been in the wars of that first corner.
Jones is right on his tail. They're not fooling around here, these 2 teams.
Top 10 cars covered by less than a second in qualifying. Very close and very competitive. Look at Scaife as he gets under the wing of Thomas Mazzera up the back straight for the second time. Scaife had a flat tyre at the beginning of the Dash for Cash earlier this morning. Instantly pushed him back to 6. Now he's got to fight through. Well, look at this. He's already up to second position and challenging for the lead.
He's not going to make a run at that particular part of the circuit because Mazzera has this well and truly under control. Up to the next left-hander. Scaife in second.
Another big brake lock up there.
It was Alan Jones just ahead of that too, and it was Glenn Seaton. That's the second brake lock up he's had it since the opening lap.
Well, brakes are a big factor here, and certainly by the time we get into the second heat, not looking too good. Dick's not on 10/10ths.
Well, that's one of the Shell cars on the way out. John Bowe still hanging in third position. Haven't the Shell cars been in the war this morning in these opening 2 laps?
Thomas Mazzera brings them across the line. He speed up the back straight last time, 249 kilometres an hour. Right behind him, Mark Scaife. And here we have the wars for Dick Johnson. John Bowe's already got a tyre problem. Johnson's got a bigger one. And Scaife all over the back of Thomas Mazzera. I think we're in for a great race between these two drivers. Two youngsters who can really set the pace. They've opened up a gap here. Bowe's gone out onto the grass. Alan Jones gets up on the inside of him, and Glenn Seaton starts to make that similar move as they head up the back straight this time.
It is hard to judge that first corner on the opening lap. It's a long way away from the start-finish line, and fellows get a little bit anxious. They try to make as much ground as they can, but I think it's a pity that on the opening lap so many fellows found it necessary to do a sideswipe maneuver and put their colleagues paid to the event.
Thomas Mazzera 1.1 seconds under the lap record in qualifying, set by Larry Perkins only at the Sandown 500 meeting last year. So it's the same package, but just shows the development that's going on with these cars, how much faster they're getting in such a short period of time.
Well, they're professional teams, mate, and they've had a long time since Bathurst, really. Then we've all been at war.
Looks like
5 months to get things really moving for the '94 season, and it's unfolding here. The people that have done their homework are coming through.
Here comes Scaife, challenges up on the inside as they come under that bumpy braking area. Mazzera goes out wide, Scaife sneaks through, and notice too that John Bowe has also disappeared from the action, so the two Shell Falcons have fallen over in the first 5 laps. Big disappointment for the Ford men, and particularly the Shell team, who look so strong here in qualifying. So it's Scaife now, lead them up the back straight once again. The two Peter Jackson Fords, Alan Jones in front, Seaton following him through, then Brock in the Mobile Commodore, Jimmy Richards and Larry Perkins getting on the pace now.
Well, here's Dick's change. Oh, but John Bowe. So both Shell cars in the wars.
Well, the day looked like being just the perfect one for them, particularly after John Bowe won the trophy dash. But it's all come apart for them. Hopefully they might be able to pick it up in race number 2 this afternoon. But in the meantime, Mark Scaife, former national champion in the Winfield Commodore, leads Thomas Mazzera, who really left a gap open large enough to put 3 Foden trucks through at the end of the straight last time. Here they come down the straight. We might have a replay thanks to Tui's Red and have a look exactly what happened in that first turn. There's the gap though. First back to second. Scaife is sprinting. Let's have a look now. Off the line.
That's Brock with his tyres locked up there, and you can see that Dick gave him more than a serve coming out of there. John Bowe tries to thread the needle. They were all over each other. There's bodywork and things flying everywhere. Smoke, dust. Richards out there on the grass. One of the most frantic starts we've seen in touring car racing for a long time.
That's okay. That's what racing's all about.
That's right. But the Shell Falcons have paid the price. Johnson and Bowe both out of the battle at the moment.
Well, the gap between our race leader, Mark Scaife, and Thomas Mazzera hasn't opened up. It's fairly constant, as Alan Jones doing a fabulous job. PJ team, all sorts of problems yesterday, as we've mentioned earlier, with tyres. They just really couldn't get a handle on it when it came down to the lone session. But expect them to go the distance and keep the pressure on. Scaife loves nothing better than to a bit of adversity. Usually gets the hairs up on his back, and he can usually respond. He's doing that fine job here today at Sandown. Second, still Thomas Mazzera, but starting to come under some pressure from Alan Jones in the first of the Falcons. And behind Jones is his team leader, Glenn Seaton. Probably 4 or 5 car lengths back is Peter Brock. Then it's Jimmy Richards in car 6, Larry Perkins in the Castrol Commodore. And next is Wayne Gardner in the Coca-Cola Commodore, just clear of Tony Longhurst, Paul Morris and Neil Crompton.
5 laps down, 15 to go. You can see Brock's copped a bit of damage on the front of his car too.
I don't think that'll hurt his cooling too much. There's still plenty of gap there for the radiator. It's not really going to hurt him.
These front 6 cars, the battle between Yokohama and Bridgestone. Scaife and Richards winning Yokohama's new B compound tyre, which they use so effectively at Amaru Park. And the Falcons and the Commodores both on Bridgestone's 29 compound, but different constructions for each car. So, tyre war in order, and Larry Perkins the first of the Dunlop cars behind this bunch.
There's a lot been happening in the pits in the opening couple of laps. Let's go to Andy.
I don't know about a tyre war, but the tyres are certainly in the wars. You saw both Shell cars come in at the same time. Here's Dick Johnson's front right-hand tyre. Both guys apparently had been hit by other cars. Both tyres incredibly shredded, and as you saw, it was just absolute pandemonium and bad luck here in the Shell pit. Both guys are going to do it very, very tough.
They certainly are, Andy. Thanks for that report. Well, you do your planning for a weekend, Alan, and I guess in some cases Glenn Seaton would have gone away from here yesterday very despondent with his 2 cars missing the dash, and Dick Johnson would have been full of elation after the dash this morning, but it's got away.
And then a lap later, they're in the pits. It is rather cruel. It's something that the fellows have to come to grips with amongst themselves. It's a question of just how sporting you can be and yet be competitive at the same time.
It's a sheer delight here at Sandown today. I'm going to introduce someone, and the voice you'll know automatically, and that is the voice of Formula One Grand Prix racing, Murray Walker, who joins us in the commentary box. Murray, welcome aboard. Hope you're enjoying your stay in Melbourne.
I certainly am, Mike. It's my first time in Melbourne and therefore my first time at Sandown Park. I've just been mentally comparing it with some of the British Championship courses like Brands Hatch and Alton Park, and it's magnificent. And my goodness, this racing is absolutely terrific. I'm enormously impressed with Mark Scaife. He started from, what, 5th or 6th on the grid, and he's now got his way through into the lead. Terrific performance.
Here's the STP race cam riding with Glenn Seaton. We've already remarked not the best of weekends so far for Glenn, but he's trying to pick the pieces up, running 4th at the moment.
So here we are, Mark Scaife. Behind him, Thomas Misera, the previous winner at Bathurst. Behind him, the 2 Ford Falcons. Alan Jones well up there, world champion in 1982, and there we are in the commentary box. It's all happening here at Sandown Park, and in particular Mark Scaife. So the Holden's Commodores versus the Ford Falcons. Mike, who's your money on?
I think at this stage it's on Scaife. He's such a good strong runner, and it really is the Murray Moff, Mark and Mike show today, isn't it? We've got the M's in.
We were very, very impressed with Mark Scaife in Formula 3000 in Europe, and he's come back here. He's gone back to the touring cars like a duck to water, and look at the way he's going now.
I think the problem, Murray, for the Shell company today is that they haven't put out enough boards, because we've had 5 or 6 of their boards have been torn apart by cars running off the circuit.
Good thing they're styrofoam and not doing any damage to the cars when they have those little escape modes.
Now, there's a challenge for 3rd place there. Glenn Seaton, and it looks to me as though there's been a change as they go past. Yes, indeed, up into 3rd place has gone Glenn Seaton. He's got ahead of Alan Jones. There's the man he's chasing. It's Thomas Misera. So the 2 Holden Commodores of Scaife and Misera have now got Glenn Seaton, who's gone so well in this series in the past, hopping his rear wheel off the deck there. Alan Jones tucked in behind him. And there they go, the 2 Peter Jackson cars. And now the problem that all leaders have in every race, and that is threading their way through the field as they catch up to the tail enders. This is where the top 4 could close right up. It's where conceivably the lead could change hands.
It could well. Dick Johnson has been in the war so far, back into the pits, shredded tyres, and he joins us on our Dunlop race cam. Well, Dick, I thought everything looked pretty sharp after the dash for you.
Yeah, well, it's looking fairly good, Mike, but obviously the skirmish in the first couple of laps is very difficult to sort of get through. And well, it's very difficult to pass because these cars are fairly equal. So I had a shot at Crompton, which I thought was a fairly fair sort of a passing manoeuvre, and he just got left out and hang out to dry, and unfortunately I flattened the tyre.
We've got Murray Walker with us today, taking in the action as well, Dick.
Oh, really? What a great idea. How you doing, Murray?
Good day, Dick. I was just telling them about the time you took me around Eastern Creek at about 0.2 of a second off the lap record. I shan't forget that in a hurry.
Well, that's good, Murray. I'm glad, because Eastern Creek's a great racetrack.
Now, Dick, you've got the car, you've got the money. What are you doing down there?
Well, I'm damned if I know. I've got to exercise somehow.
Well, Melbourne, of course, is the scene for a fabulous Melbourne Motor Show this week, and that's why Murray is in Melbourne. At the moment, we're following race number 1 of round 2. Not too much. It's closed the gap. It was out to 2.20, but here we see it is all tightened up again as the young Thomas Misera starts to gain on Mark Scaife, and those 2 Falcons are getting closer to the tail of that Telecom Mobile car.
Yeah, you see, it was the O'Shea's car. I'm sorry, I don't know enough about some of the drivers to know which one it was, but they're all threading past him now. But in the meantime, Thomas Misera has been able to close the gap between himself and race leader Mark Scaife, who's got the hammer down now as they go through and complete another lap. And we're now on lap 11 out of 20, so we've completed half the race distance. You're looking at the first two, the Commodore of Mark Scaife, right behind him, the famous 05 car, well, it's Peter Brock there.
Yes, they're doing well. I still think it's going to remain tight at the front of this field, Murray, with Thomas Mazera and, of course, Mark Scaife. Half distance has been completed. Shell Race Score tells us the picture. Mark Scaife, the race leader over Thomas Mazera. Glenn Seaton and the Peter Jackson Falcon runs in third over his teammate. Alan Jones in fourth, and Brocky rounds out the five. And we'll be back for more action in just a moment.
Mark Scaife in control, but Thomas Mazera getting closer all the time, opening up a clear gap to the two forwards there. So this is the battle for the lead. It's going to go right down to the wire. These two cars very evenly matched, seem to have similar horsepower, similar straight line speed, and very, very strong through the corners. As we take race cam, Coca-Cola race cam, aboard Wayne Gardner's new Coca-Cola Commodore. Boy, these team have been in the war this weekend. All sorts of engine problems. Teammate Neil Compton's car caught on fire in qualifying and came very close to being incinerated. Gardner currently running in 8th position. Very hard initiation for this team, but they're doing very well in very competitive circumstances. Wayne Gardner working his way up through the 6-speed transmission. Back to second as we take an innovative position for race cam. We look at the feet of Wayne Gardner as he works his way around Sandown Park, just feeding in the power. Bang, changes up the gear change once again. You can see, and he's just to brush the clutch pedal. And for those of you who haven't seen inside a Group A Commodore, that tray on the bottom of the floor that looks like an inverted scone tray is actually 20 or 30 millimetres above the floor and keeps the driver's feet off the hot floor, because under these cars it gets like a frying pan.
You could cook your scones down there.
See the way he's heel and toeing with his right foot, keeping his the ball of his foot on the brake and the heel of his foot on the accelerator as he changes down. Well, he's not doing it at the moment.
Now, just now he's coming onto the back straight, and he'll just give it everything in a straight line, working his way up through the gearbox. I think up to 5th gear. He'll be just pulling into top about here. 6th gear, flat out 250, 260 kilometres an hour as he comes over the top of the hill for that spine-tingling run down through the S's. Back a couple of gears. Here he is down through, just balancing on the throttle, and he'll really bury the brakes here as he comes into Dandenong Road corner. Feed the power in on his way back toward the straight. A little bit of oversteer there. You can see him applying opposite lock. Back through the gears and back toward the pit once again. A fabulous view of the very busy feet of our ex-world champ Wayne Gardner.
6 laps to go in this 20-lap race. And here are the leaders. It's still Mark Scaife. Still behind him is Thomas Mazera. Still behind them are the two Ford Falcons of Glenn Seaton and Alan Jones. Still in 5th position, it's Peter Brock.
And it's just an example of how closely matched these cars are, Murray. How does this V8 racing compare to 2-litre racing for the spectators at the circuit?
Perhaps you shouldn't have asked me that question. It's, I think the 2-litre cars have been a bit closer because they haven't got the power. But this is terrific stuff.
We go aboard STP race cam with Glenn Seaton characteristically chewing on his drink straw there as he works the big Ford round Sandown Park. Very cool customer. He looks like he's so relaxed at the wheel he's just going down to the shops for a few minutes.
Doesn't look as if a thing is bothering him, does it?
No, very, very relaxed driver. Looks up in the rearview mirror. He's got plenty of time to check his gauges, see who's around him. A guy in complete control of the situation. Very, very cool customer.
Nice and easy on his car. You can hear him. He's using the clutch. He's nursing his gearbox. Very kind to the car. You very seldom ever see Glenn Seaton with a car parked at the side of the road.
Horsepower, Alan, or kilowatts perhaps?
About 550, maybe 560 horsepower, Murray.
That is very impressive and very, very quick. And how beautifully these cars ride. Watch him as he goes into the left-hander. Just the left front wheel rides up a little bit. The car stays flat. The power goes down. Glenn Seaton.
Just a little bit of roll there. Nothing to worry about. But as Murray said, the left rear tire off.
The only role he's got to worry about is the roll of the dice to try and find a way.
Now, this could be, sorry to interrupt you, this could be Mazera's chance. There's a lapping going on, but no, Mark Scaife goes past him cleanly and coolly, gives Thomas Mazera no opportunity at all. But now we see what Glenn Seaton was looking at. He was looking at the car in front of him in second position, and I do believe he's a little closer. There's still a very considerable gap, but Mazera is really pushing now. So there's Seaton. Behind him is Alan Jones, and here are the leaders. Now, there's Scaife.
Well, unless I'm mistaken, and I could well be, but I think Jones has just managed to get past Glenn Seaton. I think he has a problem, but it is very tight at the front, as you've alluded to, Murray, with Thomas Mazera desperately trying to come up with a win here for the factory today. 4 laps to go across the strike at Sandown. There's Jones just in front of Seaton. We catch that on STP Racecam into the left-hander at the end of the straight here at Sandown. And Thomas a little untidy that time on the exit to that turn, but it is still on this race.
Right, age shall not wither or dim Alan Jones. He's no youngster now. He wouldn't like me to say that, but he's been in racing a long, long time, and my goodness, he's not going any slower as the years go by. Look at this terrific battle for first and second places, an even greater battle for third, fourth, fifth and sixth places. Here are the leaders in the red Commodore, the Winfield car, Mark Scaife. Then right behind him is Thomas Mazera, 015. Both in Holden Commodores, and Mazera pushing now right up alongside. Is he going to nerve Scaife? Is he going to take the Commodore off? No, he's not. Mark Scaife will have nothing of it, and we're into the last 3 laps now.
It is getting very, very tight. Tap, tap, tap through this turn and down to the left-hander. Past the pits. That's drafting.
This is what you call slipstreaming, drafting for sure, Mike.
And
He's got it.
Mazera will be trying to work his way to the inside here, so he catches Scaife out and keeps him to the outside to the turn. Across the line, 3 to go.
But Mark Scaife knows what the situation is, and he is not going to let Thomas Mazera get his nose inside the red Commodore if he can possibly avoid it. The same thing is happening behind them. The 2 Peter Jackson cars, the 2 Ford Falcons, are battling for third position. Right behind them, the 5th and 6th, but it's the battle for the lead at the present moment. So there is Glenn Seaton, there is Alan Jones in the 2 Falcons, out of the left-hander into the straight.
Well, there's no way that Mazera is going to let go here until the flag comes down over the pair, over
this
the
is
line.
lap 18 in this 20-lap race. 2 laps to go at the end of this one. Just remember the points situation.
Yes, Mazera's already off with 5 points up on Scaife in the second round today by virtue of yesterday's outstanding performance and his finish in the dash. So Mark Scaife into this section of corners now that brings them back past the pits. They're as close as they were a lap ago. In straight line speed, though, it would appear that Scaife might just have just that little edge over Thomas Mazera.
He is definitely holding him on the straight. He seems to lose the slipstream just ever so shortly, about 2 car lengths, and not enough length for Mazera to pull out and nail Scaife under brakes. But he's certainly hounding him, and Mark Scaife won't want to make one slip at this stage or it'll be all over.
Same engine situation, Alan, or has one got the Chevrolet and one
They both have Chevrolets, Murray, and both have the 6-speed gearboxes.
Fairly close, and of course Scaife has done it a little tougher from where he started in the field, but he leads. Still out to a couple of car lengths. From this point on the racetrack, Mazera does make up a little bit of ground, particularly into the next left-hander.
And unless I'm very much mistaken, this is lap 19 out of 20. So if you've seen action so far, I think you ain't seen nothing yet, because the last lap is about to be starting. And it's Mark Scaife, Thomas Mazera, Glenn Seaton, Alan Jones. Peter Brock is in 5th position.
Scaife down to the right-hander now. In here smoothly. They're coming up on a couple of cars. They'll put a lap on, including the Kalari Transport Commodore. But they'll catch them in the straight, and they'll probably have them done by the next turn. Last lap board should come out this time.
Maximum sweep onto the straight. They're not losing any ground there at all. They're keeping the car nice and tidy to keep their speed.
Look at this. Oh. Look at this. There's Scaife. There's Mazera. Burst of flame from underneath the car as he changes down and the engine goes onto the overrun. 2 men to lap. This could be Thomas Mazera's opportunity. This is the last lap in the 20-lap race here at Sandown Park, and Mark Scaife pulls out now.
You're going to thread the needle through these 2-lap cars. They both hang to the left-hand side of the course. Scaife will crest the top of the hill and leave 1-lap car, probably in Thomas Mazera's path here. Now, he gets by on the outside. Can he make it before the next turn? Barely, but he does.
This is an immaculate race by Mark Scaife, starting from the 3rd row of the grid into the lead. He's held the lead under terrific pressure from the Commodore of Mazera, and it looks as though Thomas is not going to be able to get past Mark in the closing stages of this.
Here it comes! No, here it is!
As I said it!
Yes, absolutely, coming out of the last corner. Who's got the speed for the checker? I think it's going to be Scaife. Crowd standing here in the grandstand as they come across the line, and it'll be Mark Scaife. Lost the lead, took it back, takes the checkered flag clear of Thomas Mazera and Alan Jones over Glenn Seaton, Peter Brock and Jimmy Richards. Well, a good race, Murray.
Absolutely superb, and that's going to help Mark Scaife, who puts his hand out of the window in a victory salute. That's going to help him with the championship points.
It certainly is, Murray, and a delight to have you with us today. Let's check them out for you on the Shell race score as Mark Scaife picks up the checkered flag. He's gone on to win this one. Thomas Mazera places in 2nd. Alan Jones was 3rd in the 1st of the Peter Jackson Falcons. Glenn Seaton finished in 4th. Peter Brock rounded out the 5, and in 6th place feel that they have a lot of work to do. Set to run now. Race 2, round 2 of the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship, and Mark Scaife lights up the tyres off the line. Is snaffled both sides by the Peter Jackson Falcons of Glenn Seaton and Alan Jones. They come down, and Perkins has got off, and they've had a collision here. A touch of cars. Perkins manages to split the pair of them. Jim Richards winds up with the worst part of that, and they go either side as Dick Johnson and John Bowe take off. 20 seconds behind the field after putting new tyres.
Oh, we've got driver
Neil Crompton's gone off.
And who else is there? One of the Peter Jackson Falcons. We can't tell whether that's Jones or Seaton at this stage. It's Glenn Seaton.
Terrible, and it doesn't look like Gardner's going to get out of there.
No, it's Crompton, his teammate, but his tyre's spinning on the grass. It doesn't look like he's going to be able to reverse out of the fence.
Some days are diamonds and some are stones.
Well, Mazera got a terrible start. We can't even see where he is now in the lineup.
Alan Jones, you could see as they came into that first corner, he had everything locked up. He almost lost it himself but managed to gather it up. Then only 100 metres down the track, both his teammate and Neil Crompton ended off in the sand. A very dramatic start to this heat too. So Scaife will lead them through. Larry Perkins up into 2nd position. Our Bathurst winner from last year. Sudden change of form in this 2nd heat. Alan Jones in 3rd, and the first of the Holden Racing Team Commodores in 4th as they come onto the main straight for the first time.
Everyone blamed a very tight Amaroo Park for no action last weekend. You got one of the widest, fastest racetracks, and the guys can't get through 2 turns without scarring the sheet metal here today. Mark Scaife, the Winfield Commodore, leads from Larry Perkins. Alan Jones, car number 30, the first of the Peter Jackson Falcons. And let's have a look at the Tui's Red replay of what actually happened. Off our race cam, coming down, some gouging here. There's Wayne Gardner, and number 4 comes up. He allows one of the Winfield cars to go through on the inside of him. Then a touch back behind, and around he goes. So I'd say he got a helping hand. That's the way it finished up.
Well, Glenn Seaton will be very distraught about that. He's a championship contender. He goes into every race and wants to make everyone count. Champion winner from last year.
Look at Scaife, he's got the bit between his teeth. Tremendous straight line speed from the Winfield Chevy. Look at Alan Jones, locks up another brake as they come down to Dandenong Road corner. Larry Perkins still using the Holden V8 in his car as opposed to the Chevy units that are so common now in the Commodores. Certainly no lack of top-end speed, Alan, at this stage.
No, he's come from nowhere, but when people start mixing up their ambitions with their abilities on the opening lap, Larry took advantage and certainly slingshotted himself from the 5th row right up there into 2nd spot, and good on him too.
Peter Brock finished up in 12th position with that Valley on the first lap, and Seaton is 21st. He's got back on the track, but boy, hasn't he got a lot of work to do. So Alan Jones really hustling Larry Perkins as they come off the end of the main straight once again. You can see the car's been in the wars, bits of damaged bodywork hanging off the back of the Ford.
Larry gets a little sideways through there, warms up those Dunlops and gives them another warm on the exit. But Jones sits in his draft. Nothing between them. Richards is one back behind them. Next is Wayne Gardner. But up the back straight, here comes AJ on the outside, and the Peter Jackson Falcon side by side with Larry Perkins as they get to the top of the hill. Brave stuff this. It'll be Larry's turn. No two ways about that. Larry finds himself under a little bit of pressure, and that is, in fact, is taking pressure off Mark Scaife. Right up behind them, Thomas Mazera, who was on the front row there, but burst into a sheer wheel spin and lit up the tyres and went absolutely nowhere. Murray Walker, who's a special guest here for the Melbourne Motor Show starting next Friday. Murray, plenty of action in the opening few circuits.
Indeed, and the sensational Mark Scaife has done it again. He won at Amaroo, he won the first round, but look at this, because it's the battle for third position behind Larry Perkins, who's come up from about halfway up on the grid. He was telling me just before this race began that he's looking after 6 cars this year, so all his time is cut out, but it hasn't diminished his ability as a driver. This ex-Grand Prix man, Larry Perkins, in second position, and what a battle between Alan Jones, number 30, ex-Grand Prix world champion from Australia, in third position, and tucked up right behind him as Glenn Seaton goes well down the field. Glenn Seaton, who finished in fourth position, and there he is, and he's really fighting. He was 21st last time we saw him, but we are now on lap 4, which is 1/5 distance in this 20-lap race. Glenn Seaton fourth in the first heat, and of course he's second in the championship. He's up to 18th position at the moment. There's Perkins in second place, Alan Jones in third position, and coming up fast behind Alan Jones, Peter Brock. And Peter Brock has seared his way through the field, and he was in 5th position in the first heat. So now we go through at the end of lap 4 into lap 5, which is quarter distance. Glenn Seaton is leading, Larry Perkins is in second position, so it's Holden, then the forward of Alan Jones.
Close enough as they go to the bottom corner. Thank you, Murray. We have an excellent race going here. Glenn Seaton, as Murray alluded to, has got a lot of work to do. Alan Jones at this moment seems to have his hands full containing Thomas Mazera. And there's Paul Morrison, the Diet Coke Commodore, and Tony Longhurst, the B&H Commodore. They've had a splendid weekend. They're still chasing development work on the car, but by the time we go to the touring car round at Lakeside, expect to see Longhurst and Morris really come out of the blue.
Well, they've done extremely well with 2 brand new cars, and cars that they wouldn't have been familiar with. They only took delivery of them about 4 weeks ago. I think both Paul Morris and Tony Longhurst have done a great job with these 2 cars in the formula this year.
Here's race cam as we take with Wayne Gardner. He heads into the left-hander. Carrying our 7 Sport race cam today is Wayne. And he would be unhappy with the fact that he's already had Neil Crompton, one of his cars, go off down there, but he's concentrating on trying to log a top 5 or 6 finish here today at Sandown. They come across the line, Mark Scaife out by about 5 or 6 car lengths. Wayne Gardner carries our race cam. Wayne, the car any better in the second heat?
Well, at the moment, it's quite glazed up and it's hard to drive.
Okay, I'll let you get on with it. I didn't think you'd got a handful, son. Thank you.
I have, yeah, sorry.
Thanks, mate. So Wayne Gardner continues in the Coke Commodore. Up front, Mark Scaife, Larry Perkins, Alan Jones, Thomas Mazera, Jim Richards. Then, of course, we have Wayne Gardner.
And I must say, Mike, as a motorcycle freak, that it's a real joy for me to see world champion Wayne Gardner transferring so well from 2 wheels to 4. He's most impressive, and he's set up the new team of his superbly.
Yes, he's got a lot of work to do. Early days yet for Wayne's team, but he made the transition, Murray, very well from 2 to 4.
Lap 6 out of 20, and it's still Larry Perkins, second position, number 30. Alan Jones in the Ford Falcon in third position. It's the battle for second, third and fourth, and through up into third position goes Mazera ahead of Alan Jones. So Alan Jones drops back a place into fourth position, and Mazera, who was making the running with Mark Scaife in the first heat, is now sitting about Larry Perkins. There's Perkins, there's Mazera, and Alan Jones has now been taken, as you see before your very eyes, by Jim Richards in the Holden Commodore. So Alan Jones has lost 2 places in the Ford Falcon. He's gone down from third position to 5th.
Yes, brakes starting to come into play here, Murray, after a hard day's work, and these fellas are getting nailed at the end of the straight, just getting out of their rhythm. But I thought Mazera made a terrifically aggressive move there, coming onto the main straight, and has just capitalized ever since.
Jones comes back again. dives down the inside of Richards. This will be close stuff. Jones won't give way, and nor does he. He gets up alongside Jim Richards and takes one spot back. But he's had a lot of work to do because of losing 3 spots in the last 4 laps.
Well, it's single file down through the S's, Mike, and it's a brave man that makes the wrong decision over the top of that hill. And on that occasion, definitely Jim Richards had to give sway to Alan Jones.
Mike, while you've been looking at the front of the grid, I've been looking at the back, and it's very interesting to see that John Bowe and Dick Johnson, who started at the back with a 20-second penalty in the Ford Falcons as a result of changing tyres, and now we're with Dick Johnson as he's fighting his way through the field. What's the traffic like, Dick? Answer came to none. Dick is very busy indeed, but he's up to 17th place, having started at the back of the grid.
He's done very well. Just looking at the ones who did start back there, Glenn Seaton has made his way to 15th, but he has gone to the pits. So Glenn Seaton in the pits. This will be a weekend that he would prefer to forget. The closest racetrack to his home base, and nothing has gone right for him this weekend. Tyres yesterday, missing the dash this morning and playing catch-up all day. Bowers up to 12th, Johnson now to 13th, and Glenn Seaton, before pulling to the pits, had made his way to 15th spot.
Here we have Mazzara descending on Larry Perkins.
Lap 8 out of 12 this, and Thomas Mazzara is the man to watch. Second in the first leg to give himself 16 points in the championship, and moved to 3rd position on 37 points behind Mark Scaife on 66. And Scaife is going through now to complete another lap, and he's increased his made.
Well, looks like he's back out on the racetrack again, Glenn Seaton. STP race cam shows he's just checking out the traffic there as he dives down to the left-hander. So he's back out. I'd say they've had a tyre change there. Thomas Mazzara getting closer all the time to the tail of Larry Perkins.
And Alan, you can see from the way that the car's absolutely rocking on the suspension as they go around the left and right-handers that they're absolutely on the ragged edge of adhesion.
They sure are that, Murray. There's no doubt about that.
They go up the back straight, and we check them out on the Shell race score. Mark Scaife is your race leader. Larry Perkins running in second, but closing very quickly is Thomas Mazzara. Alan Jones in the 30 car runs in 4th, and Jimmy Richards is 5th. Down Raceway, Mark Scaife in the Winfield Commodore leads them down the front straight. There's Larry Perkins. Right behind Perkins, past the 7 Sport sign, is of course Thomas Mazzara. Next, Alan Jones, then Jim Richards. Mazzara has been working the last few laps to pull in Larry Perkins. He's done that. Wouldn't surprise me to see him make one of those inside moves up on the entry to the pit turn.
He's trying to, but Larry, being the tough competitor he is, he's certainly not going to give Mazzara any opening here, and neither should he. We'll be watching Larry drift to the left up back straight here. He'll want to protect the top corner, and it'll be interesting to see. Well, he hasn't, but Mazzara isn't up alongside him either. So one more lap safe for the Castrol car.
And meantime, at the back, John Bowe has gone from nearly 0, certainly to hero, because he started at the back. He's in 10th position, and there's contact between Larry Perkins and going round in the Holden and trying to get past him, Thomas Mazzara.
What's this next corner? No, Perkins feints it across to the left. That's where Thomas has been doing a lot of passing today. But he's given Larry a tap in the tail, telling him that the liquid engineering isn't fast enough today. And he will go to the inside of him as they come down the straight, and that will put Larry at a disadvantage for the next turn. Here comes Mazzara, car number 015.
Up into 2nd place, he's on the inside, and Larry Perkins has to give way, go round the long way. Masterly move by Thomas Mazzara, and Larry Perkins dodges back behind his wing, but again, Thomas Mazzara has got the right line from the right-hander, the left-hander that follows. He has a secure 2nd place now. Now, the question is, can he do anything, Thomas Mazzara, about closing the gap between himself in 2nd place and the red Commodore of Mark Scaife, race leader for the 2nd time this afternoon?
Well, that's a tough job now. There's still about 10 car lengths advantage that Mark Scaife has got, and if Mazzara can pull that back, in the remaining laps. He'll have done a tremendous job.
Whoop, locking them up.
1.7 seconds between Mazera in second place and Mark Scaife, the race leader. And you can see for yourselves that they're carving their way through past the tail-enders now, who are dutifully and politely moving over. They're watching their mirrors. That's good. Not holding up Mazera, not holding up Larry Perkins, and not holding up Alan Jones, who is in 4th position still, having lost 2 places earlier. Mike, can I talk to Dick? Can you hear me if I shout loud enough?
You have to shout loud. We'll set it up.
Dick Richards, can you hear me? It's Murray Walker talking to.
I sure can, Murray.
What about those changed tyres of yours? Are they doing the job?
Actually, they're doing quite well. Actually, it's just that the sun's come out a bit. It doesn't suit me as well as I'd like it if it was overcast, but them's the brakes.
Jim, Dick, this is a commentator's dream of home. You started at the back and you're cutting your way through the field. It's great viewing.
Yeah, the only problem is Bowe's doing better.
We also have our telemetry, Murray, as you can see coming out of that car too.
Oh, don't watch, mate. You might cop an over rev every now and then.
5.5, 6,000 RPM. That's 150 Ks. And down into second gear goes Dick. On go the brakes. And now race order on lap 13 out of 20. So we've still got 7 laps to go. And it's still Mark Scaife in the lead from Thomas Mazera, with Larry Perkins in 3rd position and Alan Jones in 4th place. In 5th place is Jim Richards, and in 6th place, making up the leaderboard, is Wayne Gardner in the Holden Commodore.
So there is the gap opening. Mark Scaife into that turn. John Trimble is the next one through. Thomas Mazera runs in 2nd. 3rd is Larry Perkins. He goes through. 4th is Alan Jones. 5th, of course, is Jimmy Richards. 6th spot, about to go through that turn, was Wayne Gardner. So Wayne Gardner's been able to stay with the pack here today.
Yes, and another one that's staying well is Larry. You can see just how critical qualifying in this championship has become, Mike, because Larry was hardly on camera in the first heat.
That's right.
But by virtue of getting through the Dodgem car exercise on the opening lap in this heat, has got up there and is holding 3rd, a very creditable 3rd, and keeping this freight train at bay behind him.
Here's a good dice as Glenn Seaton coming up behind Jim Richards.
And my man John Bowe is now in 8th position. He's taken yet another place, having started from the back. We're going to see him right in the picture very shortly. And Glenn Seaton is now a lap down on race leader Mark Scaife on lap 15 out of 20.
Yes, it'll be a very bit of oil coming up onto the windscreen there. More than a bit, a lot of oil coming out of the 2 cars in front of him.
Close here. Seaton pulls to the inside. There's Alan Jones on the outside. Jim Richards sits 1 ahead of him. Past the grandstand at Sandown and bound for the left-hander now as they get onto the brakes.
He'll have to be terribly despondent. Glenn will really be upset about losing the points in this race, Murray.
Look at the right rear of
that's as damaged as we've ever seen a Peter Jackson car. He looks like he's gone through World War III on that car.
Alan Jones has now dropped 3 places. Do you suspect a car problem? It's not like Alan to give 3 places up like that.
The combination of that, or bearing in mind these tires now have gone a long way, Murray. They had to start qualifying with these yesterday. Heat 1 this morning, and now at the end of the day, they're really asking a lot from one set of tires.
I would think, Murray, that maybe Glenn Seaton might like to finish today with the fastest time, and that's why he's back out there.
There he is. Sorry to interrupt you, Mike. There is John Bowe, and you can see by the way that the Ford is really leaping over the curbs that John Bowe has got the red mist in front of his eyes. I had lunch with him, and he was saying that he was very displeased with the way things had gone in the first leg. He didn't actually say he'd been done hard by in being made to start at the back and with a 20-second penalty, but it was pretty plain that that was how he felt. And my goodness, you can see it now as John Bowe in 8th position is fighting back, and he is right behind Wayne Gardner and going for it.
He certainly is. Down the inside, under brakes may get him.
And he's through. I think he's through. There's Peter Brock. And he's through, yes. John Bowe has got ahead of Wayne Gardner, and he's therefore now up into 7th position. And what a drive.
I think he's going to knock a few more off before the finish too, Murray.
This just shows what the adrenaline can do for you.
Fresh set of tyres would help. And that's exactly what he's been able to capitalise on.
Absolutely. Touche.
Here he comes up the back straight. Brock's ahead of him.
Lap 17, race order. It is still Mark Scaife in the lead, and behind him is Thomas Mazzera. In third position, it is Larry Perkins. In fourth position, it is Jim Richards, and there is the battle.
And Bowe is really flying. Let's take nothing away from the fact that he has got fresh tires. He took the penalty, started from the back of the grid, but he has got the bit between his teeth here, Murray, and is determined.
He really has pulled the bung out with a masterful yank. And John Bowe in the Ford Falcon is flying through the field.
He's got three laps to go as they go across the line. Alan Jones has got a car problem. He waved Wayne Gardner through the last time they came past the pits. And here we follow them down into the left-hander. There's JB.
In the Shell FAI Ford Falcon, John Bowe.
He's given Ford fans something to cheer about today. It's been a fairly despondent day for them.
He has two disadvantages as far as some drivers are concerned. He has a beard and glasses, and that's an unusual combination.
Let's not get too personal about the glasses.
I can accept the beard, I can't accept the glasses.
I can see my reflection in yours, thank you very much.
So, Larry Perkins, another chap with spectacles. It's not holding him up at all. And Larry is still in third position, behind Mazzera, second place. Mark Scaife, the leader, and only just ahead, as you can see.
Here we've had Mazzera do a spin on the approach to the left-hander. He was doing extremely well there earlier in the race, nailing cars on that occasion, but overconfident.
So we're looking now at the battle for second place on lap 19 out of 20. Only one lap to go after this as Mazzera pushes up the dust, fights his way back onto the track, right at the back of the field. Larry Perkins is in second place. Jim Richards is in third position.
And the other good news, Murray, is that John Bowe has a new track record coming through the field, a 1:14.346. So he's done it from the back of the pack today as Perkins gets a little sideways out of that turn.
I can't say I'm surprised because he's driving a masterly race, and there is another spinner. It's Mazzera again. He's either trying too hard or his tyres are completely shot.
I think probably the latter, Murray. He couldn't...
Well, he couldn't hang on with that.
John Bowe is in fifth place now.
Yeah, fabulous drive from Bowe. And here's the man who will go into the books today with almost not the clean sweep he enjoyed at Amaroo Park, but enough to silence his critics. Mark Scaife in the Winfield Commodore. Certainly the class of the field here today at Sandown. And he'll take the checkered flag next time as they come down the straightaway. In fact, it is now above, and Mark Scaife completes it today. Beautiful driving from Scaife. Gets along the line for second spot is Larry Perkins. Jimmy Richards gets across there behind him, and then waiting for Peter Brock to come in. And right behind Brock is, in fact, John Bowe.
2 drives, 2 wins, 40 points for Mark Scaife.
Can't do any better than that.
I'm having dinner with him tomorrow, and the drinks are on Mark.
Make absolutely sure of it. Checkered flag for Mark Scaife. Great day for him, for Holden, for Freddie Gibson's motorsport team. In the Winfield Commodore, he takes off. And we'll confirm for you on our Shell race score the placings today in race number 2 of round 2 here at Sandown.
Let's check them out for you on the Shell race score. Mark Scaife, the big victor at Sandown today. Second, Larry Perkins. Out of third, it was Jimmy Richards. In fourth, 05, Peter Brock. And in fifth, car 18, John Bowe. In sixth with car 4.
What about put your hands together? We've seen a fabulous 2 races today. John Bowe from the back of the field. The man who finished with enough points overall for third today, Larry Perkins from Melbourne. Great drive, Larry. Congratulations. You've got a lot of fans here.
Yeah, thank you very much. I didn't really expect to come this far up, but when I got a good start and others got a worse start, and I found myself second and thought this can't be too bad. And people who thought I had a wide Commodore before were going to be in for something, but I didn't have to get into that, and it was rapt to come second.
Well done, Larry. Larry Perkins, ladies and gentlemen. Second in points over the 2 heats today. I guess all I've got to say is Peter Perfect. Tell me the truth, you pay these people, don't you?
Yeah, look, I've got to apologise to a few people out there too. On the start line there, I could think of all excuses like the clutch failed or the car wasn't in gear, I did something crazy. I just stalled it, I'll tell you right now, so I was very embarrassed. But I had to really drive hard to catch up, and credit to the boys really at Holden Racing Team to give me such a great car, and you know, we could press on.
Well done. No doubt about it, we've had 4 races, 2 rounds of the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship. He's won the lot. Mark Scaife. Well done, Mark. Fabulous drive today, and the first and the second, you deserve all the success you're enjoying.
No, the car went very, very well. Obviously, the tyre hung in great, and to Jim for running third in the last race, obviously the cars are fantastic.
They certainly are, and there's Simmons Plains next weekend. Tom Smith, the motorsport manager from Shell, to put the garland on Mark Scaife. He leads the series.
Congratulations, Mark. Great effort 2 weeks in a row.
Let's take a look at the champion.
Devonport recorded a best time of 50.